Hi everyone, thanks for joining our latest episode of our Rapid Fire series here at NightDragon. I'm Hannah Huffman, a partner here on the investment team at the firm. I'm joined today by the CEO of one of our amazing portfolio companies, Forterra, Josh Araujo. Josh, thanks so much for joining me today. We're thrilled to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. For those who aren't familiar with Forterra, tell us a little bit more about the company. What do you build, who do you build it for, and why it matters right now?
Yeah, I think generally, to put it in simple terms, we build technologies that help the warfighter shoot, move, and communicate more effectively. So you think about the modern battlefield, you got to move and be mobile or you're going to get shot or blown up. You've got to be able to communicate what you're doing, what you intend to do, and you've got to be able to affect some kind of target or mission outcome. So we basically deliver autonomous technologies that integrate those capabilities: autonomous mobility, command, control, and communications, and the ability to interface with different payloads and capabilities to basically make any ground system a fully autonomous mission system.
It is pretty amazing, and we've just been such proud supporters of the company. And I think one of the things that we loved about the company when we first invested was the team. And you have Scott, you have a great team, but your background is a little bit more unique than I think what we typically see when we invest in defense companies. Yes, you have the military background, which is common. You came up through the Marines, but then you spent some time in our world a little bit of investment banking and then transitioned to this operator role at Forterra. It's a little bit of an unconventional path to building this leading autonomy company. How do you think that background shapes how you lead Forterra?
Yeah, I think the 10 years I spent in the Marine Corps really gave me a perspective on the product we're developing and who it needs to serve. Having been enlisted Marine and then some time as an officer, but all in the infantry, the product we're developing is particularly suited for that customer. Even though they don't buy it, they're using it. But I think the I don't know, 8 or 9, probably far too long number of years I spent on Wall Street was really advising defense companies, primes, financial sponsors who are doing acquisition of defense companies. So I got this pretty unique insight into the strategy thinking of a lot of different defense companies from, call it, the 2009 to 2018 timeframe. So leading up to this defense tech revolution, really how the primes and other defense companies were thinking about their customer, thinking about their product. And having been a former, corporal in the Marines, I was pretty shocked and appalled. Well, not surprised on why we had such dilapidated equipment, and really with this reinvigoration of the industrial base and defense tech, this opportunity to really change how things are done, how products are designed, how capabilities delivered to the warfighter was really exciting for me. So to me, it may seem unconventional, but I got to see it from kind of the bottom up end user, and then kind of the top down, working with CEOs and management teams of defense companies to really refine my view on how we need to deliver a product and how we need to run a company delivering products to warfighters.
Yeah, and honestly, that perspective has really been amazing as you've continued to evolve and build Forterra. And I think one of the things I've heard you describe about Forterra is it's acting as this connective tissue of modern operations. Can you unpack that a little bit more? What does it
Yeah.
actually mean to deliver interoperable autonomy at scale, like what you guys are trying to do?
Yeah, so you think about what any autonomous system needs to operate. You need some type of compute at the edge. You need some type of communications pathway. You need to exchange data amongst these autonomous assets. And in most other domains, like the aerial domain, you're kind of limited on physics, on how much compute can you carry, how much communications equipment can you carry aloft for an extended period of time. You don't have many of those limitations in ground assets. And so when you think about what an autonomous vehicle is, it's when you take a Waymo, for example, it's a trunk full of compute with some radios and some sensors on it. That's an actually really interesting platform. Putting self-driving aside for a second, that's a mobile data center, a communications node, a compute node on the battlefield. And so we think about it as self-driving is what we do. We've been doing it longer than I think really anybody. I think we do it better than anybody. But really what we're delivering is the infrastructure on the battlefield to allow warfighters to communicate, run AI at the edge, really accomplish those missions in environments where you typically don't have the level of compute and comms that you would otherwise want.
Yeah. And I think that when you describe the company, it's clear that there's just so much mission behind what you guys are building. It is really, at the end of the day, protecting the warfighter. And you guys are launching this awesome campaign called Why We Build. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? What's the story behind it, and why is right now the right moment to tell it?
Yeah. So right now we're undergoing yet another technology revolution. Of course, right now it's all the software engineers and knowledge workers that are afraid of losing their jobs. But if you go back the last 150 years, every one of these technology revolutions has changed the way some type of work has been done. I think it's you think about the worst job in the world, a job where you get paid very little money, you're exposed to all types of hazards, your life's at risk on a daily basis. It's the grunt, the infantryman, the motor vehicle operator, the operator. And really, we think about the work we're doing is really to replace that job or enable that job as much as we can. And if you look at really in defense tech, a lot of investment has gone into drones and autonomous ships, all important work. But when you look at where the majority of the casualties, the fighting, the necessity to take and hold ground with actual boots on the ground or assets on the ground, that up to this point has really been borne by that 18 to 22-year-old 88 Mike or 0311 or 11 Bravo, those infantry or ground combat arms or logistics occupational specialties have borne most of the casualties. And you look what's happening in Ukraine, it's still, despite all the drone warfare, the ability to take and hold ground is entirely reliant on some human standing on that ground. So we think robots and particularly ground robots are really going to change that dynamic. And more importantly, what gets us up in the morning is we want to take as many of those 18 to 22-year-olds out of harm's way and really give them the technology to allow them to do their mission either remotely or have a robot do it. So if you think everything from resupply to combat engineering, missions like mine clearing to, taking and holding ground, these are all things that can be done with AI and physical AI, and we want to be the company that is bringing that to the forefront for the warfighter.
Well, it's an amazing campaign with a great story behind it. We're looking forward to seeing you guys roll that out. I think you had a couple of interesting comments there about the market as we think about air, land, and sea. And so focusing on ground specifically, obviously that's where you guys live. How do you see the role of autonomous ground systems evolving in the next 5 years, given all this change that we're seeing? And how do you see Forterra fitting into that picture?
Yeah, well, look, I think the adoption and the use of that technology is probably going to be a little bit, a little staggered from where the state of the art is. If you look at Ukraine, there's still, I think, for the most part on aerial drones, still teleoperating, remotely piloting these assets and slowly starting to adopt fully autonomous systems and letting the machine control those robots down to the X or to the objective. But really, it's getting those capabilities into the hands, into operational environments. And I think once that happens at scale, and I think it's starting to, we deployed more than 200 systems into either on programs of record or into battlefields. You're going to start to see that adoption and then more reliance on these systems to accomplish, an increasing capability of missions. I think if you fast forward 3 to 5 years, you're going to see that the entire, the whole everything from the form factor of the vehicle to the types of missions it's accomplishing are going to continue to grow and advance and change over time. So, we're at the forefront of this and we're seeing a lot of this activity happen in real time. But I think if you fast forward, 3 to 5 years, you're going to see, ground assets on the battlefield that look nothing like the things that are on the battlefield today and doing missions you wouldn't have imagined being done by a robot.
Yeah, it's a pretty amazing future to imagine. And I guess when you think about what's next for Forterra, when you think about that future, what's next for you guys?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of things, a lot of fronts. So you think about that core tenets of shoot, move, and communicate. It's what our customer needs to do. It's what the warfighter does. It's things that enable that mobility to happen more effectively. It's the ability to command and control and communicate in contested environments, and then the ability to integrate different mission payloads. And so we're kind of all in on all those areas. Both through building internal capabilities, continuing on the acquisition front, and then partnering with world-class partners across the defense tech ecosystem. So really, what we care about is integrating the most capable, best-in-breed integrated product for the warfighter. Whether that's something we build or something we partner with somebody to integrate, that's really our sole focus.
Awesome. Well, we can't wait to watch all the incredible things that you guys continue to do. Josh, thank you so much for joining our Rapid Fire episode today. Always a pleasure to talk to you and looking forward to talking to you soon. Everyone,
Great.
thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me.